Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is Where Are They Now?, where I'll take a look at all the games I reviewed last July and see how they're holding up. In July 2021, I reviewed 14 different games, and as usual, I'll timestamp all of these, and as usual, I'm going to start off with all the reviews that have not been, all the games I have not played since then, either because they're prototypes or because I got rid of them after reviewing them and didn't feel the need to play them. From there, we'll go to the reviews that have not changed, but have been continued to play, and then the reviews that have changed. As with last month, we're still looking at a very prototype-heavy front end, which means a lot of games I have not had a chance to play again, but we'll go through all these, and again, timestamps to all the sections down below. If you just want to see what's changed, well, that's at the very end. In any case, we're going to start off from the very bat. We're going to start off with a bunch of prototypes, starting off with Scarface 1920. Scarface 1920 is a game I really enjoyed. I gave it a 4 out of 5, and that would currently hold up, just like, even just impression-wise, my impression would hold up in that one, but it's one that I have not played since, because it left the collection because it's a prototype, and had to be sent off to someone in some way, shape, and form, but it's one that I actually got asked fairly recently, not fairly recently, I get asked fairly commonly, am I still looking forward to it? And the answer is an absolute yes. Scarface 1920 was a little bit of deck building, not a lot, very light on the deck building, but had a lot of other things going for it, including area control, including some incredibly powerful cards, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to play, and I'm looking forward to the final copy on that. From there we have Soul Raiders, which is a 3.5. Soul Raiders is one that I only got to see a taste of it. This is, I mean, I have a rating right now, but the rating is very much tentative because what I got to see was very much an impression of the game, but not the full experience. Soul Raiders gives you a bit of a choose your own adventure mechanic as you wander around different directions, trying to explore different areas, trying to make different choices, and trying to survive. Supposedly the final game has a lot of branching paths as to how you can explore. I found the mechanics of the game to be okay, not overly compelling, but the mechanics on its own, combined with the choose your own adventure, I enjoyed what I saw without being wowed by it. I certainly liked it. I'm certainly looking forward to it, but for right now it's a 3.5 with, I would say I don't imagine it goes down. There were enough things going on in the game that I think I'll definitely like it. The question is how much I'll like it, and that time will tell. From there we have Bantam West, which is a very tricky one for me. Bantam West is a game that taught me that I should no longer play prototypes in multiple phases of development. Because in the past, I've always been open to, like, hey, we have a game coming to Kickstarter, do you want to play it? And even though it's several, it's a year out from Kickstarter, and I'd say, hey, sure, no, not a problem at all, that's totally fine. And then I found that here and there I've done it with not great results, and Bantam West was by far the worst one, because Bantam West was constantly being iterated as I played it. I played it over maybe an 8-month period. I played it, 5 or 6 times, and each time was a different game. And I grew to be frustrated with the constant changes to the game because I'm trying to review a game and I can't review a moving target. It very much made me feel out of my element because I committed to covering it, and by the time I got it, I was like, I got one play in the newest iteration, and I was like, I've played this game in 5 different forms, which is not great. Now, I like the game, don't get me wrong. This is it was more of a personal frustration with not feeling confident in my review. I guess that's what it is. I like feeling confident in my reviews, and I said this stuff in the review. I made sure to say this, but I still didn't feel confident in it because it was a constantly moving target, and so I was more irritated with the reviewer-game relationship than the game itself. The game as it last stood, which I'm sure has gone through more changes, the game as it last stood was certainly a game that I want to dive back into, but one in which I don't know exactly where it lies in terms of how much they added, how much they took away, what changes they made. It was an open-world sandbox adventure, one that I thought had a lot of good things going for it, one that I definitely prefer to Western Legends from the 2 in terms of the games that they're offering, but I also don't know exactly where it'll end up. So for me, Bantam West is a good game that I mostly recommend with caveats, and I'll let you know when I finally get a copy. Then we have Death Road's All-Stars. Death Road's All-Stars I gave a 4 out of 5, and it's one that I'm definitely looking forward to, although I do wonder how this one holds up just because I've played a whole bunch of these games. Death Road's All-Stars is a racing game with guns and shooting each other. That's kind of what's going on in the game, and I played a bunch of these this past year, including, I didn't even play the Thunder Road one from Restoration Games, but I played 3 or 4 games in this genre of shoot 'em up, beat 'em up racing card games, and while I enjoyed all of them, I don't have room for them all in my collection, because practically speaking, it's not a genre that I'm going to play that much, and so I'm left with Tiny Turbo Cars, Death Road All-Stars, and the other one, I can't remember. I remember like what it looks like. I can't remember what it's called, but it had like a very Mario Kart style approach to it, very visually like neon graphics. I can't remember what it's called, but all 3 of them were great games that gave me something different, and I don't know which one is going to last. I cannot imagine I keep all 3, but I enjoyed all 3. All 3 of them I'd give a 4 out of 5. All 3 of them, but I don't have space for all of them. So I don't know what happens with Death Road All-Stars. It may end up being the one that stays. I may end up keeping a bunch of them. I don't know. Ultimately, time will tell if I play them or not. But I enjoyed it. Death Road All-Stars, a 4 out of 5. Have not played it since. Then we have Chronicles Drunagor Apocalypse, this is Drunagor regular over here, but I reviewed Apocalypse back in July as well. And Apocalypse basically, well, it did a few things. It continued where Drunagor left off, but it also gave you a more of a narrative interactive journey with the Drunagor system. I really like that. Again, I give it a 4 out of 5. I think I'd hold to that rating. I could see it going to a 4.5. I need more time with the system. I had a prototype, which meant I got to play 3 games. That's it. All I got to play are 3 games in it. They had just 3 missions with a degree of choose your own adventure and a degree of evolution and involvement as you made different choices that interacted and weaved its way into this journey. I liked it a lot, but also it's a commitment. It's the kind of commitment that I need to play as a campaign game, and so I need time with it. I need more time than I actually got right now, which means it's a 4 to 5, but a tentative 4 to 5 could go up. I imagine it goes up. I don't imagine it goes down. Drunagor is a great system, and I just need to play it more. Then we have Oros. Oros, which is another prototype, a 4 to 5 again, and another one that would hold up as a 4 to 5. Oros is really solid. I really enjoyed the puzzle that Oros gave you. It's a bit of a evolution of a landscape that you're creating as you play the game. You're basically creating this landscape. You are putting down these tiles and you're creating volcanoes, you're creating shifting land masses. You're using the powers to level up how you can manipulate the board around you as you try to basically lock these temples down. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very solid, very well done. I don't know if it's kind of a forever game, but what I saw of it and what I enjoyed of it, I got a bunch of plays in it, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Oros. I'm looking forward to, well, the final version of it. From there, give me a second. From there we have Distilled. Distilled was a 3.5 out of 5 for me. I liked Distilled a lot, but it never resonated with me to the degree that I loved it. I thought it was a very solid game. Distilled is a game about making alcohol effectively. Had a bit of a deck building process, but not really deck building, more hand management, although your hand's not really your hand. But you're basically gathering resources and ingredients and all these things. You're trying to put them into your washback. You're trying to create and craft the various alcohols you need as you earn points, as you try to put them in there and let them age, as you try to sell them to get more money to continue the process. Worked really well, very well designed game, and I really enjoyed it, but it never clicked with me in a way that made me love it. A lot of people did. For me, it was a good game that I thoroughly enjoyed, a 3.5, but something about it never completely clicked. It was just an enjoyable experience, and one that I can easily recommend, while not one that makes me think I absolutely need to dive into it again. I'm happy to play it, but not in a rush to play it. Then we had Volfiryion Guilds from, I can't remember the name of the company, Volfiryion Guilds. From Tabula Games, that's what it is. Tabula Games, Volfiryion Guilds is a deck builder that I enjoyed, but also didn't necessarily stand out compared to, let's say, a game like, let's say, Star Realms, for instance. I like Volfiryion Guilds. I thought it did a good job, and the Volfiryion Guilds, they had a whole big box, like, giant version, tons of content expansion for it, or whatever it is, lots of stuff you can get. I enjoy the game while thinking that I just rather play Star Realms. I like Star Realms a lot. Star Realms gives me the same general experience as Volfiryion does, but I think Star Realms does it better, for me at least. I really enjoyed it. But either way, that's Volfiryion Guilds, a 3.5 out of 5. And again, all these I haven't played yet. These are just going quick rehashes of prior reviews. Then we had Four Gardens from Arcane Wonders. Four Gardens is one that I like the concept of what it's doing, but it never fully clicked with me as much as I would like. This is moving past, I think from here, these next 2 are the non-prototype ones that I covered in July, but Four Gardens is one that was not a prototype from Arcane Wonders, and it gave you this tower that you're constantly rotating the tower to gather resources, but you only have limited space for those resources, and it's a little interesting puzzle as you try to build out these landscapes, these panoramas, and you're getting more and more points as you build out more and more sequences in the panoramas. Very well done overall, but I found the tower felt like a gimmick, and it felt like a gimmick that got in the way of the game to me. I thought that the tower was a theoretically nice concept, but didn't pulled me in visually, and mechanically just wasn't as impressive. And so I thought our Four Gardens was a totally fine, totally adequate game. 3.5 out of 5. Enjoyed it, but do not need to play it again. I enjoyed my time with it. It was not a bad game, not in the slightest, but I'm not overly compelled to continue playing it. Then we have Imperium Classics, the last of the games I have not played. Imperium Classics is one that, these are the kinds of games that make me rethink my rating system, but I didn't like Imperium Classics. I would not want to play it again. I had no fun with it whatsoever. I did not like Imperium Classics. I can try to double down on how much I did not like it. I did not like the game. Imperium Classics is a well-rated, well-loved, well-respected game that I did not like. So just to understand as I go into this is my opinion. Inherently, they're all my opinion, but when my opinion differs from the norm to a larger extent, I like being clearer as to just how much my opinion it is, if that makes sense. But Imperium Classics is a game, I think by David Tursi, if I'm not mistaken, from Osprey Games. They have Imperium Classics and Imperium Legends. I reviewed the set, so to speak, and the game is The game is deck building, but I found it to be incredibly rules heavy, incredibly non-intuitive, and not that rewarding for the gameplay it gave you. That was my take on it. My take on it is not match the general opinion, so understand that going in, but like, if you asked me to play Imperium again, I would not want to. I would actively try not to. You'd have to in some way incentivize me with some reason as to why I'm doing so. Maybe because of how much I value you and spending time with you. Maybe because you're paying me. I don't know. I didn't like the game, and it's one that I give it 2 out of 5. It's not for me. I did not enjoy it. I do not want to play it again. I recognize that my opinion is the minority, but it's still my opinion of the game. From there, we move into the games that the review has changed. We only have 2 in this category, much shorter, but most of the games I reviewed in July, again, most of these were prototypes. I didn't have a chance to play them again, and then the last 2 are games that I got rid of, so that's what happened in July. So, these next 2, I apologize, I'm just finishing off my coffee over here. But we have the next 2 are Lords of Hellas. Lords of Hellas from Awakened Realms is one that I reviewed in July. Really enjoyed that one. I give that a 4.5 out of 5. I really like Lords of Hellas. The biggest question mark around it is Lords of Ragnarok. Lords of Ragnarok, which is a great game, but Lords of Hellas is one that I've played since reviewing it, and I really enjoy the game. I think it's an incredibly well done area control game with multiple pathways towards victory, and I really enjoy it every time I dive into it. The biggest hesitancy I have around it is I just don't think I have room in my collection for Lords of Hellas and Lords of Ragnarok, and the question is which one will stay, and I think Lords of Ragnarok, based on playing them, I think Lords of Ragnarok is everything Lords of Hellas is doing, but a drop more aggressive in its implementation. So I have to see the final copies. Like, I've debated multiple times getting rid of Lords of Hellas. I'm pointing down here because it's actually over here, not behind me anymore. But I've debated multiple times whether I should just get rid of Lords of Hellas. I have the whole Kickstarter, everything. But, like, there's a part of me that's like, I can't. What if Lords of Ragnarok is a huge disappointment? What if the final version of Lords of Ragnarok is worse than Lords of Hellas? In which case, I definitely want one of these in my collection. The question is, which one? So Lords of Hellas, still a 4.5, hasn't gone up, hasn't gone down, but has a degree of, will this stay, or will Lords of Ragnarok overtake it? And we'll see. Time will tell on that one. And then from there we have the Grand Carnival. The Grand Carnival from, who's it from? Who's the name of the company? Rob Kramer, Ryan Goldsberry, a game from, Uproarious Games, I think. Uproarious Games. Grand Carnival is a polyomino game of building out your park. It's I give this one a 4 to 5, and I hold by that rating. Hasn't gone up, hasn't gone down. It still has lasted, which is pretty decent, because a lot of polyomino games I find keep losing out to my favorite ones. My favorite ones including Project L, including Baron Park, including Patchwork, including, I don't even know what I have left at this point. I feel like I have more. Oh, Planet Unknown, Foundations of Rome. These are all incredible polyomino games, and to a certain extent, I keep wondering whether the Grand Carnival should go. But also, practically speaking, they just recently had a Kickstarter, and I end up backing it because I want the new content for the game. I wanted more content. When I first covered this game, one of my things was I wanted more content for the game. And I think the expansion will give that to me, and I like the game enough that I was prepared to double down on it and see if it's a game that holds up. There is the possibility that it does not last forever. That's absolutely a possibility. But I would say, based on playing it and based on seeing what the expansion content adds, I believe the Grand Carnival will either entrench itself further as a game that sticks around for a while, or possibly even goes up a notch once I cover it with the expansion. So we'll see how that goes. But the Grand Carnival, really enjoyed this one, and it's a 4 to 5 and stays a 4 to 5. Has not gone up, has not gone down. I do need to play it more. Which brings us lastly to the games where the review has changed. There's only 2 on this one. Only 2 on this list where the review has in some way changed. 1 down, 1 up. Although down is always relative to a degree. One is King of 12. King of 12 is one that I reviewed. I gave it a 3.5 from Lucky Duck Games. I really liked the King of 12. I liked it a lot, but I also got rid of it. My rating hasn't changed, but it did leave my collection, so I talk about those here as well. King of 12 involves rolling dice and trying to use those numeric values along with cards, a set of matching cards that you all have, as you try to figure out how to bluff and outmaneuver and outpace the other. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really liked the game. It a lot of moments of laughter, a lot of chaos. I don't think of it as heavily as a strategy game. I think you can try to play as best you can, but ultimately it comes down to kind of the fun aspect of watching people play cards, of seeing things cancel each other out. If 2 people play the same card, it cancels each other out. So you're constantly playing this game of when to try to stop the person by matching their card, but if they didn't play their card, then you won't be able to. It has this whole wine in front of me aspect, wine in front of me from The Princess Bride. But it really did a great job at feeling like a fun time. But also at a certain point, we just kept playing it, and eventually we stopped playing it quite as much. And it's one that, again, I don't think the strategy really ended up making or breaking the game. For me, it came down to much more to feeling like a party game, and it was a lot of fun, and eventually we got to a point where I think I'd rather play other games. Solid game from Lucky Duck Games. Easy recommendation, but one that eventually left. And then lastly, on the games that changed, we have The Great Wall. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 when I reviewed it the first time, and it's absolutely gone up to a 4.5 out of 5. I can see this becoming a 5, but no, I don't think it does. It's a little too while I love the Great Wall, and while I think it's amazing, I think there are aspects of the game that feel a little bit convoluted, a little bit messy, and a little bit not elegant that take away from me thinking it's a 5. A little too many aspects, but I really enjoy it. The Great Wall has definitely gone from a 4 to a 4.5. I really like the game. It's so solid at what it's doing. It's one of my favorite Awakened Realms games, if not my favorite. It might be my favorite Awakened Realms game. From the ones I've played, it may well be my favorite Awakened Realms title. It is worker placement with a million other things going on as you kind of work together to defend the Great Wall, but it's not semi-cooperatively. It really isn't. Like, the mechanics and issues that a semi-co-op game have, thematically Great Wall is semi-co-op, but practically speaking, it doesn't have that active action at all. You're really completely out for yourself in this game, and being out for yourself often involves defending against the Horde because you'll get points for it. But other times you want to watch the Horde take down the wall and take down your opponents, and you're playing that game the entire time. This is not a game where being selfish tanks the game. This is a game where playing optimally will win or lose you the game. So it's not semi-co-op mechanically speaking, it's semi-co-op thematically speaking, but it's really excellent worker placement with powers and abilities that are so satisfying. I only play it with the Black Powder expansion. I still have not tried all the expansion content just yet, but I don't like playing this without the Black Powder expansion. I think it makes the game significantly better, and it's just a really satisfying experience every single time I play it. It is hard to table. There are some rules that are a little bit non-intuitive and a little bit, much to get your head wrapped around and don't feel as, well, natural. But overall, I love the Great Wall, and it has continued to go up every single time I play it. This one goes up for me, and so that's the Great Wall. And that's it. That's the Where Are They Now? That's the Where Are They Now for July of 2021. We'll see how this continues to go as far as seeing where these titles hold up, what changes over time, what leaves, what adjusts, what doesn't get played at all. But that's the Where Are They Now for right now, which is a weird way to end that video. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this helpful in some way, shape, or form, and as always, I hope you have a good one.